universe is calling you. The universe is calling me. It speaks both day and night. It's full of dark and light.
Oh,
Well, hello there.
you have a picture up, Mark?
I did. Hi there, guys. That was just a little the little Arizona teaser there. This is Mark D'Antonio with Sky Tour Radio, and over there is Amanda Curran, and down there is Tara DeWillis. And unfortunately, Daryl is under the weather. He won't be joining us tonight, but we have a show for you, and I think you'll like it. And I do want to take a moment to thank all of you who join us here each week. I almost went to the Gilligan's Island theme there. Join us here each week, my friends. You're sure to get a smile from Seven Stranded Castaways here in Gilligan's Island. Anyway, here on Sky Tour Radio, what we do is we talk about astronomy. We also talk about, on occasion, unidentified flying objects, as we will tonight. There's actually a really interesting report that just got released, and we're going to be talking about that. It's sort of a chock full show, and hopefully we'll get to everything. And Tara is going to be giving us some wonderful questions. She's got these really good questions down below that she always asks every week, and we love hearing them. And we're going to be doing a bunch of other things. We're going to be checking out a deep dive into the night sky. We're going to look at a few things that I think are really interesting, and we're going to talk about the summer sky coming up. And this is all kind of an offshoot of Sky Tour live stream, which those of you who are familiar with us know. Basically, we have a pair of remote observatories. We have one here in Connecticut, and we have one out in Arizona, which, of course, Tara helped us set up as well, along with Marianne Robb. And these are remote observatories. There we go. And they show the night sky like no other, because you are there and you are part of the entire equation. When we bring up the night sky, we bring up a telescope, we have a chat, and sometimes we have hundreds of people in chat, sometimes less, sometimes more. And if people want to see something, they let us know. And I say us, and that's usually Amanda, okay, and Daryl and me with Sky Tour Livestream. The three of us are the happy triumvirate that makes Sky Tour Livestream. And thank you, Bobby. That's very kind. I'm sure he will. And so when we look at what we can see, we choose a telescope for the particular region in the United States. The location where we are in Arizona is dark and dry. Okay, trust me, I know dry. As Tara will remind you how I was very uncertain of taking and drinking my water out there and ended up in a hospital. When we look at the night sky out there, it literally it takes your breath away, frankly, because it's dark, it's silent. You're in the middle of nowhere. You hear coyotes and you hear other things. You can actually hear things way better than you ever imagined you could, because there's no competing sound like cars on a highway or a road or cars going by, and you hear that noise of the car going by, and you don't hear that. There's none of that. You're in the desert, and you see things that you don't normally see either, such as the zodiacal light. I've shown you pictures of that before, where you actually see this cone of light that comes up into the sky from the horizon. And at first, when I first saw it, I literally said, "Oh no, is this light pollution? What have I done? This telescope is not going to see anything good here." Well, it turns out that it was the actual light pollution, all right, but it's light pollution caused by the sun reflecting off the many, many tiny, small particles of dust in our solar system. And that zodiacal light, which is visible in the springtime sky, is something you can't see unless the sky is very dark. So you can imagine my surprise when I saw it. I was like, I didn't expect it, is what I'm getting at. And yet I'm an astronomer. I know all about it. So it's like, oh, that's embarrassing. But I don't mind sharing with you that sometimes, it throws me as well. Because no matter how much you know, no matter how much you know, you can still be fooled, and you can still, miss something. And I'm one of those people who can be fooled, and I kind of like it. It was really energizing to see that for the first time. So that said, when we talk SkyTour live stream, what are we talking about? Well, as you know, there are those remote observatories I just mentioned, but it's a clear night journey into the wonders of the deep sky. And we take people that join us on a trip through the universe. We go through many objects in the Milky Way sometimes, or in the winter sky, or the spring or summer sky, in the fall sky. And there's a lot to see when you look up. When you're in the city and you look up, you might see one star, maybe two. And maybe one of those is a planet, because it has to be bright enough to be seen, and planets are brighter than stars typically. So when you look at them, you say, wow, look at that thing in the sky. But when you get out into the countryside, and I'll tell you a little bit of a story. When I was actually at Devil's Tower in Wyoming, I was doing a talk out there. It's so dark out there, kind of like our Arizona site, that when you go down Main Street in Hewlett, Wyoming, which is where this conference was that I was speaking at, you block out the street light, okay, one of like 3 or 4 street lights, and you can see the Milky Way, okay? That's how dark it is all around Hewlett. And there's a tiny little pocket of light within Hewlett, but you leave and go 1 mile outside of town, and the sky just opens up with beautiful Milky Way and stars. It's like stunning. Now, the conference I was at several years in a row was in September. So to be fair, when it got dark enough to go look at the sky, the temperature was approaching around 25 degrees Fahrenheit, or maybe 20 or 25 degrees. It was literally blisteringly cold and dry. The sky was, just obnoxiously beautiful. It was just like, oh, how dare you be so beautiful, and it's so cold out. I can't enjoy this. So I remember taking people out there and having them meet me out there, because I was going to give them a kind of a sky tour, in person. And as they came out there, some of the people had just simply never seen a sky like that. And when they looked up, I mean, there was one person who was actually totally unable to speak. Now, it could have been the cold, but she'd just gotten out of the car, and she looked up and she just went, ah. And I thought maybe, something wrong. It was, ah. I was like, you okay? And she goes, I've never seen a sky like this in my life. And that is the incredible night skies that await you when you come to SkyTour live stream. We our telescope is equipped with a wide angle view, and it's going to be able to look at large chunks of the Milky Way and take beautiful photos, and you'll see them live, and you're going to see clusters and galaxies and nebulae beyond nebulae. Okay, this image here was taken out there. I showed this last week. This is the Eagle Nebula, Messier 16. This is a 20-second exposure, and in some places you could expose for 2 minutes, and all you get is bright white because the sky is too bright. All right, but out there it's really, really dark. This is a photo taken of the red star Antares, the eye of the scorpion, and right next to it, to the right, is Messier 4, a beautiful globular cluster. There's another one up above, you can see in the middle of the view just above. And then all around this, you see some light brownish clouds, it looks like. Those aren't clouds. Well, they are, but they're clouds of interstellar gas that are out in that region. It's part of something called the Rho-Ophiuchi complex. Ophiuchus is the constellation, and Rho-Ophiuchi, Rho is the Greek letter Rho, R-H-O, And Rho is a location where there's a lot of nebulous detail, and it's red, it's blue, it has these beautiful colors. It really is a spectacular looking, gorgeous location. So we have that going on out there too. And this, again, 20-second shot, and you might notice the halo around Antares, that big bright orange star. That's actually what happens in general. You do get these halos around the bright stars sometimes, especially when you have a very fast optical system, meaning that this telescope is running 25 times faster than it was, and meaning it can take a picture 25 times faster than before for the same amount of time. You get 25 times the detail too, kind of thing. So it really is pretty, but those halos can also get in the way. So I'm working on a mathematical way to get rid of those or reduce them. Successful, so far, but I'll unveil that once we do go live out west. We haven't yet. I did some testing the other night. Everything is fine. But when I pull the trigger and go live, it's going to start a slippery slope, because we are just going to keep going and going and going. It's one of those places where you just don't want to stop. And those of you that know me in Skytour Livestream know, I'm Mark, just one more D'Antonio, right? I mean, just one more object. And then next thing you know, it's a 5-hour long stream. And I fully expect the same thing to happen, So that said, that's what Skytour Livestream is all about. It's free on YouTube. Feel free to go ahead and download it, enjoy it. There's over 150 streams we've done previously up there from Skytour East. And I do have some photos of Skytour West, like I just showed you. And those are going to be joined by hundreds, if not thousands, of more Skytour West photos coming up soon. This summertime sky is just stunning, as we'll see in a little while. So I think that's kind of cool, and I hope that you guys will take advantage of it. Come join us, and we'll be happy to talk to you in the chat as well. And just because I'm running a telescope or whatever doesn't mean I don't take the time to look at the chat. It's not a blind chat, okay? I see all the comments coming in, most of them anyway. And Amanda will sometimes be the moderator who watches over the comments and lets me know what's going on. She's also the co-host in Skytour Livestream as well as Skytour Radio. And Daryl has joined us on Skytour Livestream as well. So it's a great deal of fun. And Tara, did you join us on Skytour Livestream before? Haven't you joined us?
I have a couple times.
Yeah, I seem to remember that you've also joined us as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
a special occasion for me.
Well, that's very kind to say. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. There'll be more. There'll be plenty more. Yeah. And now we talk about special occasions, like you mentioned, and that brings to mind something else that's kind of special, and that is that this past week, just a day or so ago, the government released its position paper on UFOs. Did you get to read that at all, Tara?
No, I've been on the road, so.
That's right. Look
forward to reading it, though.
Yeah. It says a lot in there, and I'm going to go over some of what it says.
Aren't you going to ask me?
I am going to ask you, actually. And of course I'm going to ask you. But I was waiting because there's another piece of this that I was going to ask you about.
Okay. I'll be patient.
Thank you. So, Amanda, did you read it?
Actually, I had it read to me.
Alan
B. Smith, the host of Paranormal Now, which follows this show, read all 9 pages online. You can check that out on his other channel, Paranormal Pop. Okay. He read all the pages, so we had an open discussion, and I'm dying to know what you think of it, though.
Well, it said what I expected it to say, which is, now don't be coming on thinking, oh yeah, smarty pants. No, it's not where I'm going with this. I've been at this for a long time. Okay, I joined the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, 2 years after it was founded in 1971 is when I joined. So I've been with MUFON for all those years. I've seen it go up. I've seen it go down. I've seen it go up. I've seen it go down. I've heard the promises of disclosure coming soon to somebody else somewhere, apparently, because it didn't come to us. And that was something that I've always been primed for, that kind of disappointment over time. And that's precisely sort of what I expected here. Interestingly, okay, what this report does say, I find actually refreshing in a way, because what the report does say is this. It says there's currently no evidence of that any of the objects are related to a secret U.S. weapons program, all right, or that were developed by foreign adversaries. So that's interesting. Then it says the clustering of sightings near U.S. military bases may just be the result of several kinds of collection bias. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you're in the military, you tend to be watching the skies a little bit more carefully for incoming things of all kinds. So there might be some bias, and the reason being that the U.S. military is looking up a little bit more than the ordinary people are. So there might be a cluster of sightings near military bases. That could be possible. And that's actually a very prescient thing to note. But then it says most of the UAP, unknown aerial phenomena, were probably physical objects, since most were detected in multiple ways, including radar, infrared, electro-optical, or weapon seekers and visual observation. So that implies that there might be many different types, or at least several different types of unknown aerial phenomena. And that's kind of cool. And then it says things like this. It says objects that are exhibiting these really interesting and unusual flight characteristics, like the ones which appear to demonstrate advanced technological capabilities, could also be the result, and this is where I differ, could also be the result of sensor errors, spoofing, or observer misperception, and require additional rigorous analysis. This is where they say, we ain't going to say it's ET. We're just going to say that, that with more data, it'll probably find out what it is. So they know there's not going to be any more data for certain sightings. So this is their out, in my view. It could be, but honestly, I think that, the call, I think it was by Marco Rubio, to actually get this report out there was a very well-timed moment to release it, and now the other thing that was interesting here is the report also says that regarding whether or not these objects represent a threat, the report says that the unknown aerial phenomena do clearly pose a risk to flight safety in the increasingly crowded skies, and may pose a challenge to national security, particularly if the UAP were developed by foreign adversaries and indicate a potential issue, a threat, and it could also indicate that an adversary has developed, some kind of breakthrough technology too, and that could be a problematic thing. But see, that's the way the U.S. government thinks. Everything they say, they have to say in terms of what will China do with this information? What will Russia do with this information? That's how they think. So you never hear anything that's just out there and blatant and honest in a sense. You're always hearing things that are subdued and sanitized, as I like to say. Sanitized so that China can't use it. The Russians can't use it. Anyone in the Middle East can't use it. Iran can't take it and run with it. It's kind of a problematic thing. So that's in this report. That's what I take away from this. That they're speaking in language that doesn't give away too much, and they're also saying things that don't admit to too much. See what I mean, Amanda?
Let me come off mute and answer you.
Yeah.
See, well, I don't know. If they are so worried about information getting out to other countries and what they might do with it, they can't really think it's this big of a threat, right? Because if they're saying it is a threat, but they're not giving us details, they wouldn't want us thinking they're not prepared and we should panic. So, I mean, like it just seems to add a lot more confusion than any reassurance, and there's certainly not any confirmation. I mean, well, I guess I don't know. I wasn't really expecting a lot. I'm sorry that a lot of people were disappointed. I think a lot of people thought this was going to be maybe what we'd all been hoping for, but it happens every time something like this gets released. Everyone gets really excited and hopes for the best and are usually let down, which is unfortunate, but it's like that in the UFO community, even on a smaller scale. I find people don't share information, and that's what I was saying to Alan the other day. Like I get, wanting the exclusive interview or the book deal or the movie deal or something, but if we're all looking for the same answer, especially if they are a threat to the planet, it's not like they'd be going after one country, right? So
exactly.
Again, it just seems like flimsy excuses and we know something you don't know kind of thing.
Well,
teasing us.
Yeah. But what I took away from this report was that we know less than we want to say we know. Okay. In other words, they don't know what these things are. In fact, I'll give you an example. They came up with some categories for what these things could be. First of all, they say of their ability to decipher what these things are, that the U.S. needs to collect and analyze more information, consolidate reporting, and develop a more efficient way of screening and processing the reports. Word for word. Okay. In other words, we don't have a system in place to properly study this, is what they're saying. After all these decades.
Yeah, I was going to say that since, 70 plus decades? Not 70 decades, 7 decades.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Like, if something that fantastic happened, no one was interested, like the push wasn't as great, no one thought to do this before. Again, it just seems really flimsy, and it's like they're like trying to hold something over your head. Like, I think the people that do the research and look at it themselves, they probably don't need anyone else to confirm what they feel they know. It'd be nice, but
yeah.
Does it change? Like, if someone knows what they saw, what they experienced, whatever, is someone else's opinion really gonna change that? Someone not believing you, so what, right?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, and Tara, I want to get your opinion on this too in a minute. I've had people call me convinced and write me and send me photos, videos, absolutely convinced what they saw was an unidentified flying object, or I guess the term now we have to use is UAP, right? Unknown aerial phenomena. I think UFO connotes tinfoil hats, and they probably went to UAP because that's a new term that can be turned into something else. Maybe they're taking that more seriously, right? But the truth is, I've had people show me videos saying, look, that's absolutely an unidentified flying object. And I look at it and I go, yes, you're right. It's unidentified, but is it human made? Well, what do you mean? I'm not saying that it's an actual extraterrestrial UFO. It might be something we made, and we have to have the mind open enough to consider the possibility that what you saw might not have been. And I would never tell you that, just say, I think you saw a satellite, without actually finding the specific satellite you saw and telling you at what time it went over and give you all the details about it so that you can match what you saw and what you might have taped and captured on video with this exact data. If I can't do that, then it's an unknown.
Well, even if it's stuff that we make and we're hiding for whatever use they want to use it for, I still want to know about that too. It doesn't have to be off the planet. If there's like stuff going around that, I don't know, too many secrets.
There are. Yeah. There are. I mean, there's north-south, orbiting, they call them polar birds, which tend to be spy satellites. Well, they're not just going to show up on your application to look at the GPS. I mean, you're not going to get your this is a spy bird. You're not going to get that. It's going to be something different or not listed at all. one spy bird that I happen to know about was actually listed as a spent rocket booster. Okay, that's creative, but that's not what it was, you know. So I think that's really kind of interesting how that ends up being, you know, how that ends up going. I do, before we have to go to this break, Amanda, I do want to hear from Tara on this. So I think we have time, don't we?
Yeah, keep it short. We can keep her going after the break too.
I'm sure we can. But Tara, I want to know what you think of this.
Well, this is the first I've heard as what the report said, and all I can say is I knew this was going to be coming, but I had reserved expectations, I should say, as a field investigator for MUFON as well. I know that the information is really hard to come by, what some of this information is. So I didn't expect really any great news to be coming. So this isn't really a surprise to me.
Yeah, well, just real fast, you know, when we look at, they define different categories of what these could be. And one of the categories is airborne clutter. Okay, that's what they called it. And that includes birds, balloons, drones, or airborne debris. You know, plastic bag floating through the city streets can sometimes get to 1,000 feet off the ground and look really odd. But yeah, that's all true. Another category is natural atmospheric phenomena. Well, this includes ice crystals, moisture, and thermal fluctuations that may register on some infrared and radar systems. That's also true. That can very, very likely happen. I had a case I did for, actually, I think I talked about this on A&E, and it was where an aircraft went through a cloud, and only as it went through the cloud did its contrail show up. Then it went off. And it looked really odd because you were seeing it on the infrared. So why didn't it show up all along the way? And because it was heating the water particles in that cloud as it passed through. And that's when you saw the heat signature. When it went into dry air, well, then you just had hot air coming out of the back end of the engines with very little moisture. So you didn't see it, you know? So that's what they mean by natural atmospheric phenomena. Then U.S. developed technology, i.e., you know, classified technology developed by the U.S. or its industry partners.
There's about 12 of them, right?
There's 5.
Oh, maybe we can get the other few on the other half of this break.
Yes, that's true. I didn't hear any kind of auga. You know, I expected an alarm, you know, but that's okay.
It's coming, Mark. It's coming.
I know. I'm looking forward. That'll be fun. Folks, we'll be right back. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we're going to finish out these 5 categories. We'll repeat them. And we'll talk to Amanda and Tara some more. This is Mark D'Antonio, Sky Tour Radio. We'll be right back.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button. So just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, the KGRADB.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Hey, welcome back to Sky Tour Radio. It's me, Mark, and that's Tara down there, and that's Amanda over there.
Hi.
And Daryl's not joining us tonight because he's under the weather, so he'll be back next week, I'm sure. We were talking about the UAP report that was released by the government. Not that anyone else is talking about it. I'm sure it's on everybody's minds. And we mentioned some of the foundational items in it, but then mentioned some of the categories. One of them was the airborne clutter. You know, they call these things birds, balloons, drones. These are what they classified most of the cases that they considered most of these cases. The next one was natural atmospheric phenomena, ice crystals, moisture, thermal fluctuations that might actually register on an infrared camera or radar systems, because you know how weather can set off radar as well as infrared cameras. And then there's U.S. developed technology, like classified technology that you're not really hearing about, developed by us or by the industry partners that we have. And then technology developed by foreign adversaries on Earth, not out there. Okay, that's what they're saying now, like Russia, China, and other governments or government entities. And then they have a fifth category, other. That's convenient. It's a catch-all for encounters where there isn't enough information to determine the category. Well, that makes sense, right? And that could include UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena of extraterrestrial nature. And that's kind of interesting. That's an interesting finding, but they're not committed to that, and they don't say that. So I find that this report basically, it said kind of what I expected it might say. I had attended a day of the disclosure hearings down in Washington, and everybody was really gung-ho about getting answers, and then it turned out that it just went away. You just didn't hear anymore. So who's pulling those strings? There are strings being pulled, and I know that they have a vested interest. If this is alien technology, for instance, there is a vested interest in keeping that technology for ourselves because we're greedy, right? We're power hungry, and those who have technology no one else has power. So that's kind of how I'm viewing this as a possibility. It doesn't necessarily mean it's fully 100% true. And I do want to get your take, Amanda, and yours, Tara, as well. I think that when we're talking about this other category, there's a lot of cases that fit in there. As investigators in this phenomena, we know and we see that there's a great depth to the experiences and the understanding of the people involved. Some people have no clue what they're looking at. Other people are scientists and can figure all these things out, but can't because it goes over their heads in a sense. They can't explain it. And there's a tendency for science in some cases, to be arrogant. So if it can't explain it, they just assume that they didn't get all the data or something's not quite right. And that kind of sounds like this other category here. Not enough information to determine a categorization. Well, okay. But what would happen if that information that did come in showed that the categorization was UAP of extraterrestrial origin? That would be interesting. I think that's coming. Amanda, what do you think of that?
I was actually going to throw it to Tara. She's the researcher. She might be, more familiar with the classifications, what goes where, like what the difference between like a saucer shape and a tic-tac or a triangular, whatever, so like
tic-tac.
Sorry guys. Okay, clearly I am not a researcher. I'm not affiliated with MUFON, but again, is that kind of just a safeguard to cover whatever they might kind of like our own people, our own governments and stuff, what they might come up with? Can that be an other so they don't really have to classify it right away? Maybe it can be in like the sorting bin for longer so they can hide it for longer. I'm a skeptic, I'm sorry, but yeah, we can go with the classification. Tara, this must be making your life easier.
Oh, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think it's really interesting because when you get cases to reports of UFOs that you're investigating, you basically investigate each one individually as if it's the first thing. So I try to go into it without any expectations, but what you do is start ruling things out. And when you have ruled everything out, what's it most likely to be? And if you don't have the information about black projects or projects that that secret government stuff, I can't really say that it's that because I don't even know what that is. I don't know how to find the information out for these secret projects. And it's just frustrating that it doesn't really change anything of our research because they didn't really tell us anything new.
Yeah, so. And I do know that there's cases, I was involved with one where I was working on a project for the Navy. I've told this story before. And they were testing it in a lake in Idaho. And it was a very big lake. But at the other end, there was a resort. At the other end of the lake was a military base. Okay. And that military base was testing a waterborne craft. That is a craft that could come up from the water underneath, get to the surface, open wings, take off and fly, and then land back on the water, close up its wings, go back down into, say, a missile tube of a sub and go home. And I was working on the engineering models of the craft. That was what my job was, to build the engineering models. I did it here. I didn't go there. And the craft was very interesting. And apparently a photographer down at the resort end saw this thing and he started taking pictures of it. And the pictures made their way to me. And I basically said, uh-oh, I know what this is. And I contacted the program office and said, you got a photographer here who's got pictures. We called it the Birdie. That was what we called it. That was our code name for it, Birdie. You got pictures of the Birdie, and so we need to tell him something. And the person at the program office says, well, tell them nothing. They don't need to know anything. And I said, well, let me paint a picture for how that's going to go. As long as they think this is an unidentified flying object of some kind. Yes, that dreaded word, UFO. Okay, I know you want to kind of use that to try and keep it secret, but it's going to do exactly the opposite. It's going to attract more photographers. And today there was one. Tomorrow there'll be 5. The next day, 10, maybe more. And eventually, one of those photographers is going to capture the Birdie doing something that you don't want anyone to know about, at least not yet. And that prompted the program office to generate a public release memo, which I distributed, which basically said we're testing some of our own technology at the lake, basically. And sure enough, no more pictures showed up because everybody thought, oh, it's one of ours, never mind. And they went home. So, there's times when the U.S. military tries to use this technique of the misdirection, and that's a problem, and it can cause other problems too, as you can see. So, I just think that's not the right not the right thing to do. It doesn't work anymore because too many people are excited about UFOs and UAP to just accept these things and say, well, I want to know what it is. Like Amanda, you just said it a few minutes ago, I want to know what this is. I want to know what this is, even if it's something that is one of ours flying around.
Well, I thought that was the punchline to your last story. Oh, it's one of ours. We can go home. Well, what is it? If you still can't recognize it and you still have questions.
Yeah. Well, it's, well, anyone listening can look it up. It's Project Cormorant, like the bird. A cormorant is a water bird. And if you look up Project Cormorant, you'll see who was involved. And it says the project was canceled. And I'll just let that go at that. It says the project was canceled. It was a very interesting reconnaissance system. But that's the kind of thing that happens, So any
it
last
sounds like a lot of pretty words that people already knew. Like Tara saying, like the classification system isn't going to change anything she's doing, and maybe what they're trying to do is make the classification so broad that things get muddied again. I don't know. I don't know what it is now. What they're trying to make it like. I don't know.
See, to me, it sounds like they talk about these airborne clutter, blah blah blah. U.S. developed technology, et cetera, and then other, a catch-all for everything else. Well, wait, why'd you stop? Why'd you stop analyzing this? Yeah. You call it other because it doesn't fit. Those are exactly the kinds of cases we have to examine. Those are the ones that are the gold. Those are the ones we want.
Yeah. And see, again, I didn't read it myself, but I thought people in chat were saying they acknowledged about 144 cases and only really talked about 2, and the rest were kind of undetermined or something.
Well, they also said of the cases where there were military encounters, like pilots, carriers, they said that there were 11 cases of these close encounters with pilots. Okay. And it's like, no, there's been a lot more. I mean, 11 in a 6-month stretch, maybe in a year. But this was from like 2012 to present day. I think actually 2004.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. Yeah, it was just, a short period of time, not decades and decades, but the numbers just weren't matching up. Maybe people in chat were reading other information or knew other encounters or something, but yeah, so I mean, again, like, we know all this stuff. Here's a little tidbit. Like, I don't understand what the purpose is other than just to frustrate the public,
Well, I'm sure they're not trying to frustrate the public. I think they're trying to frustrate Tara.
Is it working, Tara?
They do a great job. They're experts.
They are. Well, so that's the report. That's the thing that I had heard about and read, and I want to just pass on my take. I mean, there's a lot of other really accomplished people out there that are working on information about this report, and one of them is Chant Hannah, and I think you should look forward to what she has to say, because she's going to have some amazing information to show you as well. She's someone we probably should have her as a guest at some point, Amanda, because she's really knowledgeable about this topic, and I'll wait for her to make her report public so that
invite her on, and whenever she's done, if she wants to join us. Yeah, you must know Chant, Tara, do you?
No.
Oh,
well, she lives right there in Arizona.
I know who she is.
Yeah,
I haven't had a chance to meet her.
Okay.
Yeah, I know the name, but I don't think I've ever spoken.
I haven't had a chance to meet her either. She's threatened to come, see me where I was in Arizona a number of times, but never made it. So, I know she's real because I've talked to her on the phone. So, yeah, but anyway, she's very diligent, and I think that people will get very good information from her. But that's just my thoughts. Anyway, moving away from this now, we we don't typically talk about these things, but because this just got released, I thought it's probably a good idea to do that. But tonight, the next topic here is one that we're going to talk about that has to do with our Exoplanet Roundup, one of our typical segments that we do. And it actually is about some pessimistic research that's done by an Italian scientist.
That's the twist I thought we were taking. This should be interesting.
Yeah, he suggests that there's only one other habitable world in our entire galaxy. Now, personally, I don't believe that. But to show the thinking that's out there, to understand where he's coming from, is important because he does bring up a really, really fascinating point, which I have a counter argument to already, but that's okay. In the last year, we saw a paper that said that there is probably up to 300 million, and this was a conservative estimate, 300 million other habitable zone worlds like the Earth in our galaxy alone. I believe that's true. I don't disbelieve that. But in this new paper, okay, he suggests that there's only one other world that could likely support life like ours, and that's this guy. Now, the one on the left is the planet we're talking about. That's Kepler 442b. Okay, and 442b is shown next to the Earth. Okay. Now, we'll go through the details about the planet shortly, but one of the things I wanted to mention was that planet, okay, if it's like the Earth, then we can expect that it might have forests and plants. But plants require, and this is his argument now, plants require a certain type of light to process into oxygen to make energy that carbon-based beings can utilize. All right, that certain type of light is here on the Earth. Okay, we have that from our particular sun. It's in the green part of the spectrum. All right, but most of the stars in our galaxy are red dwarf stars, and they might not offer enough of that particular frequency in order to provide, and that's kind of an issue. So one of the thoughts I had was that maybe that stars that kind of around our type of star, around the G-type star that we are, all right, in our OBAF GKM arrangement that we've talked about so many times, and Amanda has talked about, is this diagram here.
I was going to put it up, but I didn't want to cover your other picture.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But yes.
And the mnemonic, "Oh, be a fine guy, kiss me," or "Oh, be a fine girl, kiss me," depending on your preference. It's the biggest and hottest and bluest to the smaller, redder, still hot, but on the scale a little cooler than down at the M's there.
That's correct. And one of the things that's really important to understand about that is that when we look at sorry, I'm like, hello, hi, okay. When we look at this chart, okay, down the middle of the chart, you see a snaky line with the blue ones at the top left, and it snakes down below. You see the word sun in the middle there, and then it snakes down to the tiniest little tiny red ones. That's the main sequence. That is the place where all the normal stars are. That is the hydrogen fusing stars. They're actually called, everything on this particular location is called a dwarf. And certainly they're not dwarfs, but they're not like red dwarfs. Okay, but we're a yellow dwarf. Well, we're a dwarf compared to some of these stars above us there on that list, the giants and supergiants. When you consider that there are some supergiant stars on the upper right part of the diagram there, if you put them where the sun is, they'd go out all the way to the orbit of Jupiter. I mean, that's a lot of hydrogen gas inside that thing. That's a huge star, Betelgeuse is one such example. It used to be a star that was at the top left of this snaky diagram. It was an O-type star, meaning it was hot and it was blue. Betelgeuse, of course, is the upper left star in the constellation of Orion. and it's about 750 light years away, meaning that the light we see now left it 750 years ago. But when Betelgeuse began to use up all of its hydrogen fuel in its center, it began to swell, and it became one of these red supergiants over on the right. Okay, and that's where it exists today. So Betelgeuse certainly didn't have the ability to promote planetary building, I can tell you that, because as one of these hot blue O stars, as you can see the letter diagram, Betelgeuse could not possibly support planetary formation because most of the light it gives off at that time was in the ultraviolet, UV. And that, of course, destroys carbon compounds and any other organic compounds. They just cannot survive that kind of bombardment by radiation. It's so powerful. When we talk about stars right around the A category here, down through the K, A through K, those stars, if they have planets, can likely support photosynthetic processes. What is that? Well, the plant's taking the light and turning it into energy, right? And the byproduct is oxygen that it gives off. You know, our planet has lots of oxygen in the atmosphere, but guess what? It's not really supposed to be there. To be honest with you, our planet is not in equilibrium. It's something that we call disequilibrium. And that disequilibrium is why you're here, okay? If it didn't happen, if there wasn't something adding more oxygen into the atmosphere than the Earth itself can absorb and take out and bond with other things like iron compounds, then we would not be here, okay? So the disequilibrium is this overpumping of oxygen into the atmosphere by, in this case, phytoplankton, which give over like 87%, it looks like, of the oxygen in our atmosphere, followed by the rainforest. So there's a lot going on, and that's what this particular gentleman says. He's thinking that, or he's saying that maybe we're talking about a problem with stars not having the right frequency of light to provide a photosynthetic basis that could be stable enough and supply enough of the oxygen into an atmosphere to promote and foster the arrival of life. And it's not really a bad idea, but I have a counter argument to that. Okay. First of all, less red stars like the A-type stars, which you see in the diagram, like the A stars, they may not last quite long enough. Okay. O stars only live a few million years. B stars, a few 100 million years. A stars can live, millions and start to border on, up to 1 billion years or more. But we need 4 billion years on Earth to create life. F stars could manage that. G can, K can, M can. Everything from the late A's on down to the FGKMs can do it. So what does that mean? That means that this process of photosynthesis could happen on 442b, because 442b, it's 1120 light years away. Okay, and its star could offer that magic set of frequencies. It could offer that magic set of frequencies to provide photosynthesis. And it orbits this 442b is actually orbiting a star that's probably a K-type star. And the star is actually, almost twice the radius of the Earth. It's twice our mass, actually. And the planet sits about half of an astronomical unit from its star. We're 1 astronomical unit from our star. But that star is, again, cooler. So the habitable zone is moved closer to the star. But it still takes 112 days for that planet to go around the star. So the planet will not be tidally locked. It's not going to have one face always facing it, like the moon always has one face facing the Earth as it goes around the Earth, so that at the end of 1 month, the moon is going around one time because it's going around the Earth, locked to the Earth. Well, this planet will have a day cycle and a night cycle that is probably based on its original formation. It won't be a tidally locked system. So that's interesting. So if it is a K-star, then perhaps there's enough of the green light component present to allow photosynthesis, and that's up for study. Now, the study suggests that M-class stars may not have those frequencies to allow like a sustained photosynthetic process to actually get a buildup of an oxygen atmosphere. But I'm suggesting that life will find a way, and it's perhaps through some mutation that life might be able to take advantage of different frequencies to create a photosynthesis in a way that is different from what we understand. We don't have a different way here. We don't have a planet that's been subjected to billions of years of development with a different type frequency star. We don't have that here. So what might actually happen? What could actually end up being present there? Could we have life? Could we have a buildup of oxygen? This professor is a dissenting voice among many that actually agree that there's a sheer high number of habitable zone planets with promising outlooks. Okay, but the idea is that sustained photosynthesis is required to allow for the buildup of an oxygen atmosphere, and that's something that carbon-based life, like us, absolutely requires. So
I know a question like that is going to require a lot of time to think about. We can give the chat about 3 minutes over commercial break, and if they want to give us some quick thought opinions when we get back, maybe we could take a look. If you don't come up with anything in 3 minutes, don't feel bad. We haven't figured it out yet.
No worries. But something? She's right. She's always right, and I really want to praise
like that.
For
loop that. Cut that and loop that. I'm always right. You heard it first.
Yeah. No speaking de inglés. All right, folks, we'll be right back after these messages. Stick with us.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button. So just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Well, as always, I tend to expend too much oxygen in doing a show, and I need to be reminded about when it's time for breaks, and I appreciate that, Amanda. Thank you. Where would I be without her? I mean,
Queen of segues.
Huh?
I'm the queen of segues.
Okay. That's right. I've never tried a segue. I'd probably fall flat on my face.
You keep me in excellent practice. I'm only good because you make me so.
Oh, listen to that. Yeah. Couched insults, right? Because she does it so many times with me is what she's implying. That's okay. Before the break, we were talking about the buildup of an oxygen atmosphere from photosynthesis. And this study that we're talking about was done by Giovanni Cavoni. He's an Italian scientist. And he suggests that Kepler 442b, around the star Kepler 442, again, a star looked at by the Kepler Space Telescope when it was operational, was probably, or is probably in his mind, one of the few that can actually support life like ours. So I think that whereas that's possible, I don't subscribe to that. And my counter argument I mentioned earlier was, I believe that the fact that photosynthesis on Earth occurs a certain way, I think it means that photosynthesis will just occur a different way. I mean, it does have a range. Obviously, there's a range. You can't have photosynthesis with absolutely just like pure blue light or something, or pure red light. You have to have it with something that has that mid-range frequencies, some of those mid-range frequencies that are required. That's one of the problems that we have, unfortunately. And I don't know if we're gonna be able to test this theory, about other frequencies. We could do it in the laboratory, and I'd love to see that happen. So bottom line is, it'll be interesting to see more about this, but that's what he thinks. And so he is one of those dissenting voices that suggest that maybe habitable zone planets that can support us are just not as plentiful. It's possible, but I don't tend to think so. That's me. And I don't think that would work good for you either, Tara, or you, Amanda. I think that we probably would, give us, it would be something to see. And that would be a miracle if there weren't any other habitable planets out there.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there has to be billions, it seems like. And you said billions in our own galaxy, perhaps?
Yeah,
so
300 million is what the low-end estimate is, yes.
And then there's billions of galaxies.
Yeah.
So it's really awesome to think about.
It is. It is. And speaking of our galaxy, tonight we're going to start a new series. This is something that Daryl was going to do, but unfortunately, he's not with us tonight because he's under the weather. But it was going to be a deep dive into a particular constellation in the night sky, an upcoming constellation, to give you an idea about what there is in the sky to look at. And we do have something for you to see. All right. And let me just kind of bring that up right now. Okay. So this is our stellarium. This is actually the SkyTour Livestream West location right now. Okay. And this is at a time which is going to be about 8 o'clock, like when we stop in an hour. When we stop in an hour, this will be the roughly the sky back, then at that point. So we're focusing on this constellation right here. And what is that constellation? Well, that's Sagittarius the Archer. Okay. And you can see Sagittarius is a centaur. He's half human, half horse. Okay. So that's the mythology. Actually, I'm not a huge mythology fan. Actually, Amanda's more of the mythology fan. And I don't know if Amanda wants to add anything about Sagittarius as the archer.
I didn't have much time to research. It was sprung on me last minute, but I hear a rumor that Sagittarius may actually have been Zeus in disguise, hiding from his wife Hera.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it was a known thing that Zeus did disguise himself as, different fighters returning home from war unexpectedly, or different animals, because I guess that was the thing back then. And so that's one of the legends I heard about. Centaur disguised himself as a centaur, half man, half horse.
Wow.
The archer. So
that's interesting. I actually, honestly, in astronomy, I've focused so much on the technical aspects of astronomy that I am perfectly willing to admit that I don't have a huge background in the cultural mythology that surrounds the night sky. So anything I hear is all good. Tara, I don't know if you know anything about Sagittarius.
I just know that it's the teapot and it's towards the center of the galaxy, if I'm correct.
That is correct. And the teapot is just a pattern of stars within the archer.
Right.
If you look on the screen,
near
you can
the
actually
head.
see.
Yeah.
Okay, you can see my cursor here. That's the top of the teapot right there. That's the teapot top. Okay. And then you have this is the end of the spout. And then this is the bottom of the teapot. And then here's the handle out here. Now,
and it's pouring out the Milky Way.
Well, it's actually the steam going up into the.
It's steam. That's what it is. Yeah.
If you consider that this is the teapot, as you can look at, as you see, the south is down here in the bottom. As the Earth rotates this way, okay, the Milky Way will go higher and higher into the sky, and so this is the steam, coming out. That's one of the popular mythology, popular beliefs. People use. It's kind of cool.
I always think of it as Daryl's teapot because he was the first one that told me about it. And if he's not feeling well, I hope he has a nice hot cup of tea and maybe is lurking from the couch. Hi, Daryl, feel better.
Hey, Daryl, hopefully you're listening. If you are, hang in there. Look forward to having you back next week.
Have a nice cuppa for me.
Yeah. And what's funny is, Daryl always talks about it, and says, "Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry." It's like he apologized because his teapot goes off in the stove when he's making tea, and you hear it start to whistle. And I think that's the coolest thing. So I don't have a problem with that. I think that's kind of neat. We're all human. We all have things that we like to do, and sometimes that gets in the way. But that's actually kind of a cool sound, and I don't mind it. It reminds me of the Milky Way, going up. There it is. There goes the Milky Way right there. You can see that cloud right there. Stellarium is either downloadable as an application. I'm using it as a downloaded app, or it's available online. Now, the downloadable app has a lot more features. And one of the things you can do as well is you can actually bring in, yeah, that's right. Thank you for putting up that link. That's the online version of Stellarium. One of the things you can do is you can bring up all the many objects with a single key press. This is N for nebulae. And you can see all the many objects in the Sagittarius region here. Okay. Each one of these objects is a so-named object. Okay. Let's take a look at the stars of the teapot while we're there. Okay. The top of the teapot is called Caus Borealis. All right. And you can see that star is right there. Okay. It's a slightly orange star, and Stellarium dutifully actually colors the text and the stars the right color. And so this is a really interesting star. It's about 78 light years away from us. And it makes the top of the teapot. It forms the top of the teapot. So it's kind of cool. It's right there. And it's actually, this is a K star, just like we talked about earlier with the Kepler 442b might be a K star. But this particular star is a giant. It's a K1, meaning one of the hottest of the K type stars. And it's a Roman numeral 3, K1-3. And to give you just a quick reminder. When you look at our chart here, okay, the stars on that snaky little line that you see going down there, those stars in that snaky little line are normal stars. But if you look above, you see the bigger ones just above center. It says giants and subgiants, and that has Roman numerals 2, 3, and 4 associated with it. And then above that, you have supergiants, and it has Roman numerals 1A and 1B associated with those. Well, Caus Borealis over here is actually one of those giant stars. So it's a big one. It really is. Okay. And so down at the end, the spout itself, this is, which is kind of funny because the name of the star kind of belies what it looks like in this asterism or pattern of stars within the Archer. Al-Nozzle. Kind of does look like a nozzle, right? Which is kind of neat. But this is also a K0 star. So it's an orangey star. We have, O, B, A, F, G, and then we have K. So Ks are not as hot, but this is also a G, K0. All right. And so it's a giant star as well. So this is kind of cool. But the interesting thing about this is when you're looking at Sagittarius here in this particular location, all right, when it's reached the highest it can go, when it's just above the southern horizon, it's as high as it can go when it's directly south. Okay. Then it starts to set, all right, and head down. Well, when you're looking at this, if you go up straight from Al-Nozzle, okay, you go straight up into the sky from there, you come to these two objects right here. Well, what are those? Well, we've taken pictures of these many times in SkyTour Livestream. And what those are the Lagoon Nebula, okay, which is right here, okay. The Lagoon Nebula is a nebulous collection of a cluster. Or it's also known as NGC 6523. NGC stands for, I could see if Amanda remembers this, but I don't think she will. We talked about the catalogs in one of our earliest shows. You don't remember that, do you, Amanda?
Which one?
NGC. What does NGC stand for?
I know it's new something catalog. General? New general catalog? No.
Yes, it is.
Is it general?
It's the new general catalog. Wow.
Okay. No, I remembered, but astronomy, it's got to be something Latin, right? It can't be that easy.
You know what?
New general catalog, that's too basic. Can't be that.
I absolutely am impressed.
Oh, yeah.
Color me impressed, if not orange like Al-Nozzle. Okay. Yeah. I'm impressed. That was good. Let's see. That tells me that you actually have spent a lot.
I absorb some stuff here and there.
Yes, you spent a lot of time absorbing some really good information. That's good.
I try. Thank you.
Yeah, well done. Okay, well that is okay. So there's the Lagoon Nebula. Okay, and to actually give you an idea of what that looks like in our telescope, this is the Lagoon Nebula as we took a picture of it. Okay?
Pretty.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Oh my gosh! Yes.
Yeah. Interesting thing about this is just to the right of center, you can see that dark object, that dark lane of material. That's actually dark dust between us and the rest of the bright nebula. So that's in front of the nebula. It's not a break in the nebula. The nebula is pretty much the same from left to right, but that dark streaks, those dark streaks are actually dust, intergalactic dust. That perhaps someday it will form planets that's in there. And to the right of that, you see a bright area that's kind of couched within a nebula there. Let me see if I can show it here on this other. Maybe not. I'm trying to. Let me just get rid of this for a second. Okay, this is the Lagoon Nebula as shown in Stellarium. Okay, and if you look right about, if we're looking here right about there, okay, it's kind of hard to tell. Okay, it's not easy to see, but in our view, okay, it's actually to the right, and there's sort of a brightened area. That is actually where there's an O-type star. All right, again, hottest and bluest, as Amanda told you, and it's not going to live more than a few million years. And there's no chance at all that it can support planets or life around planets, should they even ever existed, which they probably wouldn't. So this is what's called a stellar nursery. It's the place where stars are born. It's a hot, inhospitable location, very high radiation. And if you notice, right in the middle of this nebula, there's a cluster of stars. These are all hot young stars that formed in this cluster. Again, it's a stellar nursery. So why do we even see that it's lit up like this? It's lit up because the stars themselves are causing it to be illuminated. All right. It's causing the gas literally to glow because of a atomic process. Okay. It's literally causing electrons to move off the hydrogen atoms. And when they recombine and jump back into the atom momentarily, they give off red light, which is what we see. So this glow is a normal process that we see. And that's the Lagoon Nebula. Now, if we look above the Lagoon Nebula here in Sagittarius, we come to this guy. This right here, this is the Trifid Nebula, right? The Trifid Nebula. What is that? Well, that's this. Okay. This particular picture is not the best one. I have another one which I tried valiantly to find that we took, and I couldn't find it, unfortunately. The Blue Nebula stands out very nicely in the other one, and I don't know why it's not here. My mistake. I don't know where it went. But that being the case, the Trifid Nebula is another case of a nebula where you see what look like 3 dark lanes near the central star. Okay, those 3 dark lanes, again, are dark dust. They're not voids in the nebula. They're dark dust that is between us and the bright nebula behind. If we only saw that nebula, it'd be kind of like a disc or a ball to us. It wouldn't look like this if the dark dust was gone. But it's closer to us than that. So we could kind of skirt around it maybe and see something if we could travel, to that location. But that's the Trifid Nebula. And when we look at other things in Sagittarius, we have, for instance, we have this guy right here. This is the Omega Nebula. The Omega Nebula is fascinating. Okay. And the Omega Nebula is was a location where stars were born. It was a stellar nursery. All right. And these red lines that I just brought up define the boundaries of the constellation. So you can see that the Omega Nebula is just inside of Sagittarius. And even so, we're going to go up to some of these others because they're just too cool to leave out. Okay. And the Omega Nebula looks like this. Okay. This is the Omega Nebula. You notice there's no bright clusters here, but there are stars nearby that are hot enough to cause the gas in this nebula to glow. But this nebula, they after studies, it doesn't look like this guy is actually producing any more stars. It looks like it's done and it's sort of waning away. Eventually, as the stars drift away and age and their temperatures change, then this particular hydrogen glow will dim and finally be lost forever, unless something else illuminates it eventually. But that's the Omega Nebula, and that's right at the northern edge of the constellation of Sagittarius. And then if we jump up into Serpens here, then we can look at the Eagle Nebula. And what?
Now that screen that's up right now, that's just stellarium you're zooming in?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So when we look at the Eagle, right, let's just look at it from this point of view, from right about here. All right. Now, take a look at this. Well, here's the Eagle again, but this was taken by Sky Tour West. Right. So there's stellarium and there's Sky Tour West. Okay.
Unreal.
It's amazing. In fact, This is a 20-second photo, Sky Tour West. I mean, if I went almost too long because The pillars of creation, which are in the middle here, have been almost overexposed in 20 seconds. I mean, this is crazy. It's just beautiful. Now, a close-up view of this, actually, if we want to look at it differently, another view that we've taken is this one. Okay, this is, again, the pillars of creation. You can see them dead center. And this is the Eagle Nebula taken from here, from SkyTour East. All right. As you can see, Ian Kendall says, M16 Eagle, best nebula. Yeah, I agree with you, Ian. It sure is. Okay.
I think this is Keith from P&K's favorite.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. I could be wrong. No, maybe it's Orion. Never mind. It might be Orion.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, everybody's favorite is the Orion Nebula, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which we've often taken pictures of and shown special imagery of. And we've got so much planned for SkyTour Livestream you can't imagine, and it's just, we have so many opportunities to do more really cool things. And we're going to. And I don't want to give away too much yet. Marianne's listening. I know she was actually a little while ago. But she's our business director, and she has a good idea about where we're going.
Nice.
And she's going to be helping us with that aspect to expand SkyTour Livestream even more. Because, once you get on this path, guys, all right, there's no dog that can tear you away from it. All right. Once you get on this path and you start doing this public outreach and you see the results, you see the faces light up, you see the people that are seeing things for the first time. In some cases, you see people cry because they haven't seen this stuff in their lives, and now it's right before them.
This could be quite overwhelming. I could see that for sure. Yeah.
It is. Hey, I'm no hero. When I first saw some of these things, I nearly cried. I mean, you remember the first time I showed you, let's see, remember, it was the Veil Nebula. All right, a supernova remnant. Okay. And the Veil Nebula, when I showed this the first time, I literally was overwhelmed. I was completely overwhelmed by what I saw. It's just amazing, and that is what happens, that's kind of what happens,
Genghis had a question.
Okay.
He wants to know, is the darker material older material since it's cooler, or is the darker material cooler than the plasma?
Oh, very good question, Genghis. Thank you. Oh, the dark material is actually, in a sense, it's old material. I'll tell you why, but it's not necessarily older than other material. And it's sort of a complex question, but let me tell you where it comes from. When we talked about, when I showed you this diagram before, this guy right here, okay, I talked about in the upper right corner, you had those supergiants, okay? That's what happens to the stars that used to be on this snaky line down the middle called the main sequence. When they evolve away from that and they stop fusing hydrogen into helium, then they start making helium into carbon, carbon into nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, etc., all the way to iron. Okay, when they get up here in that upper right area, that's the point where they're actually making soot in their outer atmosphere. The size of the star is such at that point that, like I said, if you put it where the sun is, if you put Betelgeuse where the sun is, then it might travel. Its outer reaches might be all the way out to Jupiter. Okay. Well, how much gravity do you think there is holding that outer atmosphere on? Not only that, how high is the temperature out there? Okay. Some of that can happen. Some of that temperature can be, transmitted all the way out there, and it is. But in the outer areas, there's enough cool regions that larger molecules can form of carbon atoms, carbon, and other atoms that can combine to actually form this dust. And that soot, that dust, is what ends up becoming liberated from the star, either in a supernova or a planetary nebula where it just sloughs off from the star. That happens. And when that happens, we get the those dark lanes like you saw in the Lagoon Nebula that we talked about. Okay, like in here you see the dark lanes to the center and to the right of center. Okay, inside the Eagle Nebula we have that dark area that actually forms the pillars of creation. That's dust and gas, not just gas, dust and gas. Again, formed in the hearts and in the outer edges of the really big supergiants that you see in the upper right part of this diagram. We've had a lot of them. A lot of them have come, and exploded in time, over time, and made supernovae debris throughout the universe. And that's where we're seeing a lot of this. Certainly when we actually look at the middle of the Milky Way here. Okay, let me just bring this back up. Okay, I want to bring this guy up again. Okay, if we look in the middle of the Milky Way here and we zoom out a little bit, okay, let's do this. Let's get rid of all these things that are in the way. Let's get rid of the constellation lines, and let's just go to stars, okay? We'll even get rid of the boundaries, okay? This is, as Tara mentioned earlier, this is toward the middle of our galaxy. And, when we look at it up close, we see that there is a lot of dust and a lot of dark material in here. Again, dark lanes of dust that are in the middle of our galaxy. It's just on a galactic scale. There's a lot more of it. But what's that look like in real life? This is not real life. This is a simulated view. Okay. Well, here is what that looks like in real life. Okay. This is the Milky Way toward the center of our Milky Way. And I took this photo at Sky Tour West. Now, to give you an idea of the night sky, this one of my favorite pictures, and I'll tell you why. You can see down below, you see sort of an orange band down there. That's actually the remnants of the sunset. The sun had just set, and west is to the right out of the picture. You can't see it. But the sun had set earlier in the evening, a little bit earlier. And you'll notice that the Milky Way is blazing and beautiful, even where it fades into the remnant of the sunset.
I think we should give people a minute to think about that.
And I think we should, because we're at that time again, folks. Thank you, Amanda. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The On Air Live button, so just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, the KGRADB.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Well, hey, welcome back. And once again, thank you, Amanda, for making sure we're moving along in the correct direction with the correct timing.
It's what I do.
It's what you do.
It's why I'm here.
Yeah, well, as it turns out, otherwise I would just keep going like it's like I'm doing a stream or something. It's so easy to get sidetracked. So thank you, Amanda. Yeah, it's because
it's fascinating conversation, and everyone wants to keep going and more, and it's you can just as open as your mind can be. The possibilities are endless, and no one knows yet. So
yeah,
we get it.
It's great. And I just wanted to finish what I was saying before. And Tara's still sitting there smiling down below. Look at her smiling over there. She's so funny because she has questions that she's going to ask in just a minute. So we're going to get to that next. But we go back to this view. I told you this is the sunset photo of the Milky Way out in Arizona at the SkyTour West site, SkyTour Livestream West. You notice you can see the dark, dusty gas. Dark, dusty dust amid the gas that's glowing out there, and the yellowish brighter areas in there are actually star clouds of hundreds of thousands of stars, millions of stars, and then you have the dark dust lanes that are obscuring the further star clouds behind, and that's what we're seeing here. It's really quite amazing. In this one view, by the way, is the Lagoon Nebula, Trifid Nebula, and so forth. And then up near the top, one you can't really see is this one. This is Messier 11. It's a cluster that looks like a globular cluster that we've heard of and seen before, but that's not what it is. It's actually just a star cluster. Now, so this is, again, all part of this area that we've seen before, Sagittarius. We look at Sagittarius and we think about all these many things. When we do SkyTour live stream, we're going to be focusing on many of these different areas and checking out a lot of these different objects.
I'm guessing we don't have any Sagittarius in the audience tonight, because I thought people would be piping up telling us their traits about whether they're stubborn or easygoing or intellectual or artistic. No?
I actually don't know the traits because I'm an astronomer, not an astrologer, but still.
I don't know the traits because I'm a Gemini.
Okay.
Tara? I don't even know Gemini traits, though. But if there's any Sagittarius out there, the Archer.
Tara, what are you?
I'm a Pisces.
A Pisces, okay.
Oh, yep. And Mark's a Libra.
Okay.
And Daryl is Capricorn, I believe. I'm trying to think what the cutout dates are. I think it's Capricorn.
I don't know.
Late December.
It's funny because astronomy and astrology diverged, and they used to be one thing. And Tara has an idea what I might be going down the path of right here. But this particular book, written at a time when to get astronomical texts out, you had to talk about them with romantic intention almost. This is Views of the Architecture of the Heavens in a Series of Letters to a Lady. I told Tara about it, and you know what? She went out and bought one on Amazon. And guess what, Tara? I did too, because this old book, the binding is falling apart, and I don't want it to get ruined more than it is. So I actually bought the book, and I was thinking maybe at some point we'll have some readings from the book. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, it's awesome. It's very poetic. It's
beautiful. It is.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's something you'd like to do at some point. We'll have to talk about
that. It's gorgeous. Yeah. I love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm. Well, in that regard, then what I want to do is I'd like to have Tara tell us about some of her questions she's had. You've had some really good questions. We have a couple other features we want to add as well, but we're going to wait on that because I think that we're probably going to fill the rest of the night with some of Tara's questions. But I'd love to hear what you have to say and love to hear what you have to ask. So,
Well,
Tara's
awesome.
Cosmos.
Well, just the teapot you were just looking at.
Yeah.
You know, Daryl opened my eyes last week, and I've been staring at that Milky Way part of the galaxy forever. And it didn't dawn on me that that was the approaching spiral arm that is coming our direction. So all that steam is really a spiral arm that we're looking at that is coming our way. And I don't know when we'll meet it or when that will happen.
Well,
but
that's a good question. And the truth is, we've kind of, technically, we've kind of gone through it 19 and a half times already.
How do we know that?
Because we know our orbital speed around the galaxy. And because we know our orbital speed around the galaxy, we also know where we are in the galaxy and how long it takes for us to go around the galaxy. Now, as we do that, when you think of spiral arms, you think that the stars are moving with the spiral arms. That's not true. It's the weirdest thing. Spiral arms are like a traffic jam. Okay? In a traffic jam on the highway, it's not all the same cars that are in that traffic jam. They're changed out for a new set of cars that come in and get through the traffic jam and then move on, right? And that's how it works with spiral arms. The stars go through there, okay? And it's the bunch of stars in there at the moment that makes the spiral arm. And then they move through, but another bunch comes in. So it's like a condensation point, right? A point of a knot, okay? And as they get closer to each other, they interact gravitationally, and that kind of pulls them in sort of together, and then they continue on out. And so you get this ongoing knot of material that persists in the galaxy, and that's what we call a spiral arm. And the truth is, it's something called a density wave, and that's the technical term for a traffic jam too, is a density wave. If you look at it from a helicopter down on the highway, you'll see that red car comes in, slows down, and then it crawls for a little while. Then that red car goes out of the traffic jam and is out. Well, if the red car was a star, well, that's what happens. It comes in, it gets gravitationally interacting with other stars nearby, but then it eventually goes out, you know? And so these intergalactic traffic jams are what spiral arms actually are. It's the coolest thing. It's density wave theory. And if you look it up on like a Wikipedia, all it's going to do is confuse the heck out of you because they don't have any practical way of explaining it. I think of it as a traffic jam. And that's really the best way to explain it.
And there's dust in that traffic jam, too.
Absolutely. There's dust in the traffic jam, yep.
It just seems odd to me that all that dust is in front of everything because it looks like it's so dark that it would be, you're looking through something like a lane. So it's just really interesting. So, well, about these galaxies, can you maybe tell us what are some of the most common or some of the most rare types of galaxies?
Sure. I mean, when we look at the Andromeda Galaxy, for instance, when we think about Andromeda, Andromeda Galaxy is a galaxy that is a spiral galaxy, okay? Now, spiral galaxies are galaxies that are very, they're wound. They have these spiral arms we're talking about, right? And the spiral arms of the galaxies can be tightly wound up, or they could be kind of loosely wound up, right? And that's kind of what we see, you know, in some of these different galaxies. So, give you an example. Let me bring one in and show you. Okay, this is an example of the Andromeda Galaxy. It's a spiral galaxy. This is sort of a close-up. And if you look at this one, you can actually see the dark dust in the foreground. Do you see that, Tara? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That dark dust is part of the dust that's in this galaxy as well. And it really makes for a very, very, what's the word? An extremely dusty place. and active place, and there are some other views too that I can show you of the galaxy that kind of show it from a little bit of a distance away, which actually makes it look better taken with a wider view. Okay, like this one. Okay, again, we took this picture, and then these are all SkyTour live stream images. So here you can see the entire galaxy. You can see that dusty lane just below the bright nucleus at the center.
Right.
And you can see other dusty lanes in this spiral galaxy. Do you see that?
Yeah, it's like concentric circles, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But that's how it looks from here, but they're actually spiral arms. And so spiral galaxies are very common, but another type of galaxy that's very common are like the two other ones actually that you see in this image. Now, just above the Andromeda galaxy, you see this sort of fuzzy, roundish one. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And then down below on the left, you see a fuzzy, roundish one that's kind of an elliptically looking one.
Right.
Okay. Those are called elliptical galaxies, oddly enough. And you can have different varieties of elliptical galaxies. The one at the top is one that's closer to being like an E0 or an E1. E for elliptical, 0, 1, 2 for being like the amount of elongation, the amount of ovalness that they have. And the one down below is going to be one that's higher. Okay. Ellipticals are very common galaxies. We're not sure how ellipticals form, which is kind of interesting because, it could be the end result of collisions with other galaxies, or they could be a starting point potentially for galaxies. It's really odd, and so there's a lot of questions that we don't have answers to actually, But the Andromeda galaxy is an example of a spiral galaxy. Spirals are very common. We have spiral galaxies in that we have seen actually in SkyTour Livestream a lot. We've seen many different types of galaxies and so forth. And many of these galaxies are of the spiral type. All right. And for instance, the other galaxies that we've seen in SkyTour Livestream, for instance, are also not as tightly wound as the Andromeda galaxy. Okay. Galaxies like this one. This is Messier 33. It's actually a loosely wound spiral. The arms are not as tightly wound as this galaxy. Okay. They're more loose, kind of messy looking. You follow? And this mess can translate to a lot of really interesting activity. Like in this galaxy, in this one photo we captured with SkyTour Livestream, we captured probably at least 40 or more stellar nurseries. The stellar nurseries are like, the Lagoon Nebula, but of that size in this galaxy, which, by the way, is 4.3 million light years away. So you're seeing the light from this 4.3 million years ago. It's really quite astonishing, So the galaxies have different types and different levels within that type. So spirals can be really tightly wound and loose, like we saw just now. Elliptical galaxies could be like a ball and then very kind of elongated. But the key there is ellipticals don't seem to have any spiral arms and any dust that would make like a dust lane like we see in here, or in this galaxy. They don't seem to have those. So it's odd. Now, on the other end, those are the common types. What about the rare types? Well, there are very rare types as well. Galaxies, for instance, there's one particular galaxy where there's absolutely nothing in the center and everything is around the outside. It's called a ring galaxy, kind of like the Ring Nebula, but as a whole galaxy, billions of stars. And we don't have a good idea about how that morphology, how that type of shape could actually occur. There's some ideas, theories, and there's computer models you can do to see if you can generate a ring galaxy as sort of an intermediate shape in a longer process that takes it to another shape, and there's some successes there. But it's the coolest thing in the world to not know the answers. It really is. I mean, it gives you like years of studies to come, which is why I love astronomy. It's just crazy.
And we actually have a few questions on this coming in, but because there's a bit of a delay and we were kind of jumping through a few different things, you might have already answered this and I might have caught this, so I apologize in advance. Isabella wants to know, does our Milky Way have spiral arms, and if so, how many?
Yes, it does. We have several spiral arms, and we have, let's see, there's the Norma arm, the Centaurus arm, the Orion spur, which is what we're in. Okay, we have the Cygnus arm. We have the Sagittarius arm. We have a number of arms in our spiral galaxy, but you got to keep in mind that we're inside the forest, so we can't see what's on the other side. Mm-hmm. Can't see over that. What's over there? What's over here? We can't see because we're looking through lots of dust, and it's opaque to us. We can't see. There's a tiny little window that we can see almost the center of our galaxy, but not beyond it. Okay, that's actually called Baades window, Baades, I believe. And that's a tiny little window that gives us the furthest potential view into the center of our galaxy, or toward the center of our galaxy. Beyond that, we can't see past that because there's too much obscuring dust. Mm-hmm. You know, but we do have a lot of. We have the Perseus arm as well, and for instance, when you're in the summertime, you're seeing the Sagittarius arm. And as you look up in the sky and follow the Milky Way, you're actually looking at several different arms, as Daryl alluded to the other day. You know, you're seeing part of the Cygnus arm. And then you keep going, and now you're going to be looking at part of the Perseus arm. But you don't get the three-dimensionality, you know, by just looking at the Milky Way, because you're seeing it all what looks like projected against the sky. Okay, some of that is much further away, and some of that's much closer. For instance, where we are, we're on what's called the Orion spur. It's a little element of one of the local arms that we're in, and that Orion spur is where the sun is located, which is why all the stars in Orion, the Orion spur, are as bright as they are. It's why Orion dominates the winter sky, because those stars are relatively close to us. The Orion Nebula is one of the easiest nebulas to see with your eye. And it's because of the fact that it's so close to us, relatively speaking. We'll never get there. Don't take a car, you know. So that's really cool, you know.
I hope that helped Isabella. Genghis wants to know, why spiral instead of round?
Well, we do have round, actually. And I know what you're getting at. Why
are there round galaxies?
Why a spiral instead of a sphere? And we do have spherical galaxies. Okay, we have giant ellipticals like Messier 87, which is where we looked at the black hole with the Event Horizon Telescope. That's a giant spherical galaxy. So we do have those, but you got to keep in mind that it's a discussion a little bit beyond the time we have left, but we'd have to talk about something called angular momentum, okay, and how things, when they spiral into like an object to make an object, why don't they just go any which way? How come they seem to go into a disk eventually? Okay, that has to do with angular momentum and how fast things are falling in, what happens when they're falling in, and the trajectories they take as they're falling in. The physics dictates the shape, and that shape turns out to be a disk. I could explain it with a little more time, but that's why we don't have. If you have an elliptical galaxy that's round and spherical, that is why we have issues with why they form that way. Okay, because they don't seem to follow the accretion disk model like black holes do and like spiral galaxies do. Something different is happening there.
Okay. Liz also wanted to know. I'm not sure what she heard to spawn this question. Liz wants to know. So the solar system is approaching that area of the spiral. I'm not quite sure what she means by that. If you want to clarify, Liz, do you?
Sure. I think I might know what she's talking about. Liz, thank you for the question, and and all of you. If you look at the direction that we're moving and the speed at which we're moving. Okay, we've gone around the galaxy about 19 and a half times so far, all right? And we haven't stopped moving. We're continuing to go around the galaxy. We're orbiting the galaxy. You know, we're not spiraling toward the center. We're not going, careening off course. There is no course. We have we have perturbations, disturbances by stars, and they move us around as we're going through the galaxy. But we continue on our lazy orbit around the sun, our galaxy. And as we do, the sun carries its planets with it, just fine. So we just happen to be passing near the Orion spur right now. It won't be that we'll always be there. And it may not be that those stars are moving with us or toward us or away from us. It could be that they're going some other way individually as well. But they tend to, wherever they form, they tend to stay in that configuration for a while. Then gravitational interactions between lots of stars, if my fingertips were stars, will cause interactions that cause these stars to actually drift apart over time. And then they would actually move apart and then follow their own paths around the universe, around the galaxy. As an example, we tried to find a star that was our sun's twin. We wanted to find out where the sun was born. And to do that, we would find a location in the universe, in our galaxy, where there was a cloud of gas and dust that had the same chemical composition as the sun. And although we can't find that cloud, we did find another star that is literally the sun's twin. It has all the same amounts of everything to, a good extent. And that means that we found a sibling. We've been looking for one of our siblings for the sun for a long time, and now we found it. It's in the southern sky, though. We can't look at it with SkyTour Livestream, unfortunately. Not unless we get a southern observatory, which we're thinking.
I'm sure that's your next step.
We're thinking about it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So if we don't have any more questions there, Amanda, maybe we have time for one more of Tara's?
We have 2 minutes.
Okay.
Well, does the type of galaxy indicate anything about the type of solar systems contained within?
Interesting question. Different areas within a galaxy can indicate whether solar systems, star systems, if we call them that, might even be possible. For instance, when you have a large galaxy that has something called an OB association, very hot, very blisteringly hot stars, all on the left side of that diagram I showed you before. Okay, lots of O stars, lots of B stars, very hot, most hot stars there are. Then the chances of a star system forming with planets is negligible, because they give off much of their radiation in the ultraviolet, and their powerful stellar winds would prevent any kind of planetary formation. It would rip young protoplanets apart and just push that material right out of that star system. So within a galaxy, we can look at the different locations, the regions within a galaxy, and say, what types of star systems could be there? Well, we know with the OB association's location, not many. Okay, how about near the center of the galaxy? Well, stars over there may not be conducive to forming a lot of planets either, but stars in the spiral arms, where there's lots of dust and where there's lots of this knotty dust and gas, that's kind of where it's at. But spiral arms are also where stars form, and that's where stellar nurseries are, and that can be,
and
maybe
we can talk more about that next week.
We will go.
I hate to do it to you. It's addicting, I know.
I got 20 seconds. And where you have those knotty spiral arms and everything, that's where stars form. And although it can be dangerous for life, it's something that can also be conducive to life once those stars migrate away. And speaking of migrating away, it's time for us to go away for this week.
You had your own segue out. I'm sorry.
That's fine. And I did want to make sure that you all keep in mind, check out Amazon, get The Populated Universe. It's a book that I wrote about exoplanets and the search for extraterrestrial life. And check out Tara DeUlis and her artwork. She's fantastic. And, of course, our own Amanda Curran over there. And Daryl, who should be here, but it's not. He's not feeling well. We miss you, Daryl. But we'll be back next week. And I look forward to seeing you all again. And we'll be back. Well, I just said that. So it's almost like deja vu. Anyway, good night, all. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.